Welcome back to my channel, Famous and Fabulous. James Garner at last speaks out about Charles. James was born as Bronson James Garner. As of April 7, 1928, Scott Bumner he was adored in Norman, Oklahoma. A charming and amiable American actor, raw beauty and realistic. Because of his performance, he became one of Hollywood's most enduring and esteemed celebrities. Over 5 years were spent in Garner's career. Decades that included television, movies, and voice acting, and he made a lasting impression. Impact on American popular culture with his modest beginnings, perseverance, and heartfelt performances won people over. Million viewers across the globe experienced a challenging upbringing, characterized by his mother's passing and an abusive, his stepmother's encouragement to leave the house at a young age. He ultimately left high school and became a shopkeeper. Marine, in the latter stages of World War II. Thereafter serving in the US Army he received 2 Purple Hearts during the Korean War. His military service demonstrated a courage and tenacity in real life that would then be replicated in numerous characters that he started his acting career in the early 1950s, nearly by chance, following a short period of time mirroring Garner's breakthrough occurred with Brett's role. Maverick in the popular TV show, from Maverick in 1957 until 1962, in contrast to the usual stoic and Brett. The gunslinging cowboys of the time. Maverick was charming and clever, but he was unwilling to battle and wanted to outsmart his adversaries instead of using force. The way that Garner performed changed the archetype of the Western hero and catapulted. His portrayal of him brought him to fame, cherished it even after he left. The name from the first series, Maverick, continued to be associated with Garner's charming, cunning, and suave demeanor. Additionally, Garner's film career flourished with prominent parts in films like The Great Escape 1963, in which he co-starred with Steve McQueen, Emily's Americanization Julie Andrews, and the romance in 1964 Move a Darling, a comedy 1963, alongside Doris Day. He showed outstanding adaptability with ease, making the switch from humor to drama, from action to romance. He played a significant and intricate part in I Never Sing for My Father, receiving praise from critics for his performance's emotional depth. One of his most famous parts appeared in Murphy's Romance with Sally, 1985, the field for which he received an Academy Award nominee for the Best Actor, emphasizing the breadth and durability of his skill. But probably the most cherished part of he had the career of Jim Rockford, a calm streets, intelligent private investigator, in the 1974 Rockford Files to 1980. This function solidified Garner's reputation in the Rockford Files. A history of television was revolutionary in that it combined action drama with comedy in a manner that had hardly carried out before. To Garner's effortless charm and the way he portrayed Rockford as a lovable but flawed everyman struck a profound chord with the audience. The show received a lot of praise, including the Primetime Emmy that Garner received prize for Best Lead Actor in a 1977 drama series. During his career, Garner was well known for his honesty and professionalism, have frequently defended actors' rights and opposed unjust practices. He filed a widely reported Hollywood Warner Brothers was sued in the 1960s for contract violations during Maverick, for which he received a unique and brave action for the actors. At the moment, he gained a great deal of respect for his activism among his contemporaries and paved the path for more equitable consideration of talent in the industry with his acting career. Garner actively advocated for several philanthropic endeavors and a devoted husband and father he was married to for almost 60 years. Lois Clarke was a unique accomplishment in the entertainment sector, and the pair brought up 2 daughters. Garner frequently avoided the spotlight in favor of peaceful life at home, preferring to spend time with your loved ones or engage in enjoyable hobbies, loves motor racing and golf. He was also a passionate racer and co-founder the International Racing Team of the United States. Despite taking part in races in the 1960s, later in life, Garner went on to play prominent roles in movies like Clint and Space Cowboys, 2000 The Notebook, 2004, and Eastwood, where his poignant depiction of an old man committed to his sickly spouse brought him the movie's new generation of fans' depth of feeling and silent strength demonstrated Garner's persistent capacity to bring dignity, grace, and genuineness to even in his older years, his roles. Despite being widely popular and being renowned for his kind and outgoing personality, James Garner was frequently recounted by his acquaintances individually as a modest and humble. He conducted himself with a calm demeanor, modesty that concealed his celebrity in Hollywood, while his charisma and laid-back demeanor made him popular in movies and TV sets. Garner was fundamentally someone who meticulously protected his private affairs from the public eye, which he firmly believed in keeping a distance between his family, his public character, and worked diligently to guarantee that the focus that came along with his fame did not bother his friends from his home life. My co-workers often pointed out that, despite Garner's constant willingness to, he seldom ever shares a joke or a story, discussed his private life in detail, affairs, choosing instead to maintain those issues that are important to James Garner, was only ever married once, to Clarke, Lois Josephine Fleshman. Their meetings were the subject of romantic films. An accidental meeting during a political gathering grew swiftly in 1956 into a frenzied romance. The allure between the two were immediate and extreme intensity frequently thought of those early years, with nostalgia and a dash of humor. In his opinion, the pair went going out to supper together each evening. For we had dinner together for 2 weeks in a row. For 14 nights, I was merely utterly crazy about her, he stated in an interview. Seems still captivated by decades. Later, they courted for a short time. But passionate ending with their nuptials only 16 days following their August meeting, 17th of 1956. Garner, who was only beginning to discover his Hollywood footing, acknowledged that he almost planned a simple honeymoon. Depleted his funds, saying, "I spent $77 on my honeymoon nearly broke me," he said, joked, displaying the type of down-home wit that won him a lot of admirers. Even though their courtship was brief, their union would last for almost 60 years. Garner frequently compared marriage to living. In perhaps a comparison with the military, impacted by his personal military, he compares his background marriage to the army, claimed that although everyone complains, you'd be taken aback by the sheer volume of individuals who relist this amusing yet instructive statement, revealed a great deal about his concept of dedication and persistence, which also suggested his practical perspective on partnerships that there are difficulties in love, but that the benefits of long-term friendship greatly surpass the short-term difficulties. Lois, Garner's wife, was Jewish. Moreover, even if Garner didn't convert, he honored and accepted her convictions. Household represented a combination of customs and principles based on reciprocal mutual regard and a sense of humor that helped keep their relationship strong through good. When James married Lois, he went through difficult circumstances, accepted a new position as a stepfather as well. Louis has a little girl from a prior union with Kimberly, who was 9 years old, and courageously recuperating from polio's effects. Garner took on the duty of assisting in Kimberly's upbringing without unwillingness to treat her as his own and giving her the support and affection of a James, a loving father. A few years later, and Lois received their daughter. Greta She Garner, my own, was born on January 4th. She will become a singer in 1958, author, supporter of animal rights. And she frequently discussed the intimate and supportive connection she had with Garner. Her father loved both of his daughters and gave his position as a parent frequently prioritize family time. Of employment prospects every time James and Lois might still be married, until his passing in 2014, which provides evidence of the tenacity and fortitude of their union. But their lengthy marriage the couple has had difficulties. Has two noteworthy episodes. Of the first separation took place in 1970 and continued for around 3 months. The second more significant division started in the year 1979, when Garner's career, which lasted almost 2, James lived alone for many years throughout this period, spending some time in Canada and San Fernando Valley rental home. Despite being apart for a while, they never separated, and their relationship eventually demonstrated infallibility in September 1981. Lois and James got back together, reiterating their dedication to one another, and staying together for the remainder of Garner's biography was open in later interviews regarding the causes of their time apart, which he always stressed because the reasons for the separations weren't of marital or personal strife, but instead, as a result of the increasing demands of his acting career by the late Garner, was the star of the 1970s, Rockford Files, a position that put significant physical and mental strain on him. He was as emotionally invested as the lead in almost all of the show's scenes and his. The workload was persistently making things worse. He experienced persistent pain as a result of severe, both from his knee pain and neck and back issues that had afflicted him after suffering a severe injury when executing stunts. The physical, the show's toll, in addition to the pressure in studios and extended workdays, ultimately turned into overwhelming. As soon as Garner left from 1979's Rockford Files, it was not due to his desire to abandon his family, but he required room to recuperate physically, psychologically, and emotionally. I simply needed to be by myself. Sometime, he subsequently clarified, it was a choice made out of necessity rather than alienation. He took this opportunity to relax, reflect, and to recuperate from the fatigue of being in the spotlight all the time. He eventually made his way back to performing, as well as to the woman he was in love with. 1981's reconciliation was the start of a more subdued and balanced period of Garner's life at which he kept working, but furthermore, put even increased focus on the significance of, despite all the ups and downs, family and health, it undermines the friendship between James Garner remained one of intense love with Lois and steadfast devotion in their romantic tale. Although it wasn't without its challenges, based on respect and friendship and common experiences, it's maybe one of the least well-known yet most durable descendants of a man who, in spite of everything the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, never forgot. The most important things were love, family, and residing with integrity. The legendary actor James Garner, renowned for his parts in the films Maverick. Rockford Files has a reputation for silent manner away from the screen, but in a unique and unguarded moment, he's now spoken out on his connection to another actor, Charles Bronson. Both men are legendary, of Hollywood collaborated on the movie. The Magnificent Escape 1963, and whether they were pals or not, it has been the focus of numerous speculation for decades. Whispers and rumors regarding the character of their connection has been the subject of some. According to sources, the two had an hostile relationship on the site, while others stated that they just didn't get along. In James Garner's autobiography, The Garner Files, briefly discussed his experience with Bronson, yet his remarks were frequently mysterious, forcing readers to wonder what actually took place between the two. But Garner provides his thoughts in this new interview, most thorough analysis of the topic, nevertheless offering perceptions that provide a greater comprehension of their complex connection. First encountered Charles Bronson while filming. Both at the time of The Great Escape actors continued to etch their identities in, despite the fact that Garner was already acknowledging his contributions to. Conversely, television and movie Bronson had not yet completely penetrated he would go on to enjoy the status of leading guy. Nevertheless, both men were well known because both on set and in their tough man personas. Their personalities were obviously connected as among the Allied prisoners of war attempting to flee a German P camp during a war, but behind the scenes, things were less in tune. According to Garner, Bronson the professional was calm and unassuming, person who is very different from the lively and laid-back. Garner, this personality differences resulted in and discomfort of the situation with Garner, acknowledging that he frequently felt a disengage from Bronson. As per Garner, Bronson avoided getting involved in little conversation, and his severe stoicism behavior on site stood in stark contrast to Garner's friendlier and more jovial method that both men came to be associated with. Hollywood's strong guy persona, but that their method for assuming their personalities was radically dissimilar. Garner Renowned for his roles in the Rockford Files, and Maverick frequently gave his characters his charm and sense of humor, renowned for portraying roles that were clever and resourceful with his intellect and fast thinking to handle challenging circumstances. According to Garner, demonstrating humor and sensitivity in the face of adversity enhanced a person's character, relatable and interesting for. Conversely, audiences, the figures created by Bronson exemplified resilience and recognized for his austere performances in gritty action movies such as The Death Wish and Bronson, the Mechanic, frequently depicted men of a few words with unwavering determination and a sense of justice that is violent, while Garner appreciated Bronson's commitment to his craftsmanship and his depiction of hard-edged characters that he also thought. Bronson's acting style made him a little off both on and observed this striking disparity in their tension was exacerbated by personalities between the two, and Garner acknowledged that he occasionally discovered Bronson's. Despite this, solemnity is hard to relate to. Garner recognizes their disparities, that a considerable amount of respect existed between. Both performers, Bronson and him, had to traverse the same challenging terrain in Hollywood, where rough guys are portrayed, were both advantageous and detrimental, had comparable difficulties, such as the pressure to keep their public characters and the challenges of making the switch from television to movies. Garner acknowledges, though, that there were times when he witnessed a more compassionate aspect of Bronson, which was not always obvious to the general populace during their leisure time, when the Garner recalls that the cameras weren't rolling. A few infrequent occasions where he and Bronson used to tell tales about their Hollywood's early years, while these moments were scarce and infrequent, gave Garner a look at the man, behind the rugged exterior. The fact that Bronson shares that Garner, for all his quiet intensity, possessed a keen sense of humor, an age-y humor, but it was frequently beneath the hardness layers. This made it challenging for individuals to understand how Bronson and Garner truly felt, that this mysterious trait was both a source of isolation and power for his co-star. As their professions developed, the Garner and Bronson's connection as it cooled down even further. Both men continued to enjoy incredibly prosperous careers, with Bronson turning become one of the most profitable celebrities of the 1970s and 1980s. But Garner cemented his status as a cherished television personality. However, it appeared that the first connection they made on The Great Escape didn't completely develop into enduring friendship. In his later years, Garner started to think more deeply, recognizing that he most likely didn't try as hard as you can to cross the distance between Bronson and himself, as Garner acknowledges that he may have looked back, think he might have done more to comprehend even Bronson's inner world. Despite the fact that their personalities were so essentially distinct from Garner's interaction with Bronson, acted as a reminder that occasionally, even in the Hollywood business, two individuals might have a profound respect for one another, but ongoing difficulties to establish a strong personal bond. Finally, James Garner's choice to eventually be open about his Charles Bronson's relationship shedding light on the difficulties of working with an individual who served as both a peer and a greater-than-life figure. But conflicting personalities could have resulted in the level of personal connection was never as profound as it could have been hoped. That there was always the two men's modest respect for one another. The opinions that Garner has about Bronson are not filled with regret or resentment, but instead present a balanced perspective of their relationship, one that is characterized by comprehension, respect for one another, and the understanding that not all relationships must be intimate. Friendship to ultimately have meaning. Garner's statement reminds us that the connections between Hollywood, not all legends are as glitzy or simple as they seem. Occasionally, the most resilient men in the business has the most intricate emotional lives, and narratives are much more complex than their on-screen identities. Simply that Garner's knees developed into a chronic issue while the movie was being filmed. In the 1970s, Rockford Files had 6, or during the period, 7 knee surgeries were performed. He had a knee replacement in 2000. On April 22nd, both knees will undergo surgery. Garner underwent a quintuple bypass heart in 1988. Surgery but he bounced back quickly, was told to give up smoking. Garner finally gave up smoking after 17 years. My dad started smoking in 2005 because he was recalling daughter She Garner at the age of 12 on May 11th. Garner underwent surgery 2008 after suffering a major stroke. Suffering from his prognosis 2 days prior was said to be extremely favorable in July. Police and rescue workers on the 19th of 2014 were called to Brentwood Los Angeles house, where the actor was discovered. He had a heart and died at the age of 86. Assault brought on by heart disease.